What is your progress report?
It's not good. Unfortunately, for about the past 75 or 80 years, the Supreme Court has really refused to enforce some of the most important constitutional limits on government in any meaningful way. And that includes, for example, economic liberty, property rights, the idea that the federal government is one of enumerated and therefore limited powers. None of these important limits on government power are enforced in any meaningful way by the Supreme Court or by the lower courts.
You mentioned the past 75 or 80 years, which suggests that the court did a good job of addressing this obligation beforehand. What changed?
Well, the Supreme Court's track record was mixed before the New Deal, but after the New Deal was almost uniformly negative when it comes to things like federalism, property rights, economic liberty, tax policy. The list could go on. And what changed essentially was that the Supreme Court threw in the towel on trying to impose any significant limit on particularly the federal government's ability to micromanage the economy and then everything that comes with it. And then as years went past, the Supreme Court also threw in the towel on trying to restrict the exercise of state power, at least in the areas of economic liberty, business regulation, and so forth. And the result since then has basically been unrelenting judicial abdication in all of those areas, to the point really where, as I say in the book, there's two kinds of judging in constitutional cases, real and fake. And in most constitutional cases, you get the fake kind.
If you get this fake kind, what are the negative results for us as a society?
Well, the negative results for us as a society is a complete abrogation of constitutional limits on government power in the areas that I've mentioned, a reduction in liberty, and essentially the government being allowed to control areas of our life where it has no business being from a constitutional standpoint, and from a policy standpoint where it has been an absolute disaster for the government to be there. And of course, we're seeing the latest one as the rolling train wreck of Obamacare continues to move forward towards its, I think, hopefully inevitable disastrous end, but one that's going to be very expensive and could have been avoided had the Supreme Court fulfilled its constitutional duty to enforce constitutional limits on the federal government.